Yeah, I was talking about going into astrology in the last episode or exploring it, and I think I want to give an account why I did that. Um, and I was before I started to explore it uh, or stumbling over it in because of my interest in archetypal understanding and Jungian. Yeah. So I discovered this podcast. It's called Howl, A Howl in the Wilderness, I think. And the guy is a really good podcast. I really like the host there, Brian James, I think his name is. And he had a great conversation with this. With Lawrence Hillman um, that I mentioned in the other episode, and they spoke about it as like really in a very grounded way, and being interested in archetypal understanding or yeah psychology and um, it's I kind of like yeah I'm gonna look into this more. And before that, I've always kind of just discounted, being very skeptical about the whole astrology domain. And I've always kind of considered people being very prejudiced and kind of judging people who have been into astrology of being like, yeah, it's what you're saying, talking about is basically just bullshit and kind of, yeah, I've really been judgmental towards people, to be honest. But being so ignorant and judgmental, they tend to go together. And so, as I was saying in the other episode, I'm more and more struck by this understanding and how reading it and being read by it. Um, when I say being read by it is like listening to what it does to me and how it moves me. I can't, I can't, and the insight that keeps popping up. And when insights keeps popping up, I think it's been referred to as cascades, insight cascades. Doesn't sound right, but it's kind of cascading. When one insight goes into another insight, and it's kind of like everything is kind of orienting you towards something that kind of that you haven't seen before. And why that is actually this kind of thing is not, I'm not taking this from thin air. This is thoroughly described in a converging understanding of yeah, here it is. I'm gonna see what part of it is gonna be appropriate to speak about in this that's coherent with what I just said. Um, okay, let's see here. I think I'm just gonna try to translate this into from again this book. Um, it's I have links in below. So, okay, I'm just gonna try to see. I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna apply it to the context of maybe I have to say something more about. Yeah, I think I have to say something more. Maybe some more about the phenomenology, so it doesn't become a totally technical um, reading or podcast episode. So maybe I can frame it in a way that's a kind of a neo-platonic, to make some more space here. If I'm if my understanding of my very limited understanding of Neoplatonism, but and this is gonna be I'm gonna start by framing it as we have one line, we have one line. This we can call vertical, the vertical. And that's the potential of our being. Um, and and that's and that what's beyond. So to use Verveakian language is the agent and arena relationship. The agent and arena relationship. And when you do practices like meditation, for instance, you get this feel of being centered. And you feel very still, peaceful eventually. Um, at least when you practice this for some time. So then you are open enough and receptive enough to play with the energies of this part of your being. So you can, for instance, do like loving kindness that engages your mind, so you can start to notice this energy, chi energy that's gonna flow and activate different parts of you, and you can feel that. So that's part of the what I call the vertical. That's the vertical. Um, and why is this relevant in this context right now? It's You can say that in the horizontal, that's the other axis, vertical axis and the horizontal axis. The horizontal axis is relational, and that is, yeah, relational, how you relate to the world and objects and people and everything that's in your environment and getting impacted, and it's continuously doing this. um and sometimes, being in a mutually, how to say it, Ha- in a in a good conversation, you can say that you're in a reciprocal opening relationship to the other person, or the book you're reading, as I'm currently doing, when I'm not like engaging with people. So the mutual reciprocal opening and disclosing can be challenging. It can be deeply rewarding. Like, you can really start to get into a flow with the other person, and everything kind of feels nice and unfolding, and just like, mm, just feels, yeah, can be a lot of things. But so, getting back to why is this relevant to the notion of relevance realization? So that's some, yeah, I forgot what I was actually gonna say. So we also have the arena, that's our body, and the agent, that's more like the mental capacities or the cognition. Um, we have frames. We have we are constantly framing in contact with the world. We're framing things on the go, so to speak. And the framing, if we don't notice that we're framing things in a certain way, like, okay, I experienced this situation and I frame it like this, and I have this frame that's so close to me that I can't. A good example is like, this is a frame. If you see this as a metaphor and I'm framing it, and it clears up my vision when I'm reading. So, but if there's a lot of stains on my framing, I don't see, and I don't realize that I have all these stains. It gonna cloud my vision. So if I don't remove them and kind of, oh, look at them. Oh, I got a spot there, and maybe I don't see that I have a blind spot here or something, because as my glasses are, I can't see that thing here. Of course, this is metaphorical speaking. So if that's my blind spot, I have to remove and look at how do I frame this situation, or whatever I'm framing. So that's how our minds cognitively is doing, making sense of the world. And when if you're going around framing reality in a certain way, because you're used to it, and it's useful, but it's also not sometimes like you have to take them off and look at them. How is this working out for me? Can I frame it in another way? Of course, reframing is a well thought out concept and practice that psychologists tend to use. So, but so you can call this emergence, the vertical emerging of chi energy is emerging, and the Neoplatonic idea emanation. So when these two, the emerging energies, potentials, and and the framing or the emanation of ideas connect and interpenetrate, you get into this flow, a flow, emanation, and emergence. And it goes like this, they interpenetrate. So it's not an either or that that our modernity has made it into be. Like, yeah, you have a issue with your thinking or how you frame things. So you just have to you go to a psychologist and you say like, yeah, my thinking is off, or he considers that something like that. So you get these tasks about, yeah, you just frame it like this. You get this kind of practice to, yeah, I'm having negative thoughts about something, and the task is to kind of reframe it. Of course, in theory, that's totally okay. But if you don't have enough emergence, like this quality of um, like energy, basically, this task becomes totally impossible. And then you go home and like, yeah, you have this psychologist that kind of gives you a task that's fucking impossible. So you can start ruminating about like, yeah, I'm trying to get help, but yeah, I can go on like criticism about psychology, and I know also that the psychology as a field is in deep crisis. I get this from this kind of trying to address this problem that is a psychiatrist, I think, Greg Henriquez, that is trying to address this huge crisis in psychology, and he's been collab what? I can't pronounce that word. Collaborate, collaborating with Verveake. They made a series called The Elusive Eye. I think it's I think if I got some of it, I haven't watched it through and through, but the 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 the, um, the elusiveness of our eye. When I say eye, we have different positions. We can shift positions of our I, not the I, but the I. So when I say I, it's quite, if you go deep enough into the vertical axis, according to Zen and understanding, you might discover that there is nobody there. It's emptiness, as they call it in Zen understanding. So yeah, reminds me of the book Religion and Nothingness. Yeah, but I'm deviating, so I usually do. How is this what I just word babbling about? How is this relevant for astrology? It's just to say that relevance realization relies on, from my understanding, about this interpenetration of emergence and emanation. So when you get this going in a flowing way, you can start to realize things. So being read by and reading astrology creates this reciprocal opening vertically that we also can, as I was saying, experience in a good flowing conversation with another person or reading. So now I'm gonna turn my attention towards the more. So this was more like a phenomenology of it. Um, Now I'm gonna turn my attention into the theory. It's gonna be quite challenging to translate, I think, but I'm gonna attempt to do it. Yeah, gonna try to. Okay, this is gonna be. Since this is kind of what. This is kind of why I'm doing this podcast, basically, because I find the whole experience of relevance realization transformative. And so a thorough cognitive understanding of it has to be grounded in a solid framework for this experience that I keep having. And that kind of builds this it kind of the framework of like a good scientific cognitive scientific framework is important. So the experience that we're having, I want to put another word to it before I start reading. To before it's you can relate this to the aha moment, like when you see something or when you understand something you haven't understood before. And you get this, you get this kind of, that's what I heard and I didn't grasp. But now I'm hearing it from another place, so to speak. You're listening to something or yeah, whatever. Um, so you can say that that's when you realize new stuff, you get this aha experience that I'm sure everybody can relate to. And yeah. So I just wanted to take that into this to make it more salient. So now I'm gonna finally start to read something that's like I was saying, it's so inspiring to have these experiences and yeah, it's a lot to say about this, but this is why I wanted to start recording and sharing because I believe it's valuable. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna read. How much am I gonna read? Can be quite. It's quite like. Uh, so much to say about this, but I'm gonna. I have to. I can't take it like. It's not that much actually. Um, mm, okay, let's see here. It's about. Oh, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's too long to read everything now, but I'm gonna start. I'm gonna read one page and then in the next episode, the next page. So it's gonna be yeah, and I'm gonna go through it like that, one page per episode going forward. Um, to really give an account by about what this actually means from a cognitive scientific understanding. So the title of the paragraph is called Relevance, Realization, and Predictive Processing. We're in the we're in the middle of a transition phase that makes it hard to navigate and maneuver the revolutionary changes of basic assumptions and principle within cognitive science. Temporarily, this process has emerged from a leading framework that is being referred to as relevance realization. And it accounts for the process by by continuously um, overvinna. Continuously what's it called in English? Overwin. By continuously uh, getting over the framing problem that I was talking about when I said about the glasses. The framing problem. If you have pink, purple framing all the time, you see that maybe you're naive in your framing or something like that. So I'm going to read that line again. It accounts for the process of continuously overcome the framing problem and builds on problem transformation, meaning making, and adapt adapt abductive abductive. I don't know what abductive Reas reasoning and insight. I'm stumbling. One more time. It accounts for the process of continually overcome the framing problem and builds on the problem transformation, meaning making, and abductive reasoning and insight. It's a framework that conceptualizes an organism's ability to realize relevance that is a result of a dynamical system where the cognitive agent uses opponent processing to zoom on into relevant aspects of the world. And hopefully that ability is very, you like going back to the emanation, emergence, and dialogue and flow. We have that ability to zoom into what's relevant, and that's highly adaptive and applicable in everyday situations. It's not an abstract idea. It's a theory behind it, but the very act of the participation is a very concrete thing. We're doing it all the time. We can't not do it. Actually, when we're sleeping also, when we're dreaming, our mind tends to find what's kind of unconsciously it zooms into. Maybe it doesn't make sense when you're dreaming, but when you wake up, you can kind of explore it. And so, but maybe that's a bad example of dreaming, but yeah, I'm gonna go back to the reading. Um, I'm gonna take the last sentence again. The framework that conceptualizes the organism's ability to realize relevance as a result of a dynamical system, where the cognitive agent uses opponent processing to zoom in to the relevant aspects of the world. What does that mean? Opponent processing is a term within dynamical systems theory that helps us to understand avveiing, engelsk. Discern, maybe, to understand the discernment between, or the distinction between effectiveness and robustness in problem solving and decision making. Verveake uses the example of the autonomic nervous system to explain, and simply put, we can say that the autonomic nervous system consists of two components, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. These systems has a bias in opposite directions. The sympathetic looks for evidence. It's also connected to draw in more here. If it's not mentioned, I'm not sure if it's mentioned here. But it's very convergent with I think I mentioned it before, with Ian McGilchrist's understanding of the function of the left and the right hemisphere. Just to put that into it to make it more complete. But going back to this system has a bias in opposite directions. The sympathetic looks for evidence to increase the level of arousal. Why the parasympathetic does the opposite. It seeks for evidence that you should reduce arousal. So the pulling of the rope, so to speak, between these two opposite systems changes our level of excitement when our environment changes. We can say that the mirror, it mirrors the distinction between, distinction is not the right word here, but I have to look that up afterwards. It mirrors the discernment distinction between effectiveness and robustness in problem solving and decision making. A cognitive agent develops all the time to adapt to its environment. Opponent processing is what happens when two systems that is opponents, motståndare. Men it's also integrated, and I think it's fair to say that this speaking to the neo-platonic notions of domination and emergence. And of course, I know that Verveake is a neo-Platonist, so as I think he calls himself a Zen neo-platonist. Maybe he's changed his position now, but yeah, being the yeah. Um, so opponent processing cannot be perfect because it affords to seek the whole problem area as evidence that that leads to what's called a combinatory explosion. And I haven't said what that means. It's I have to. The combinatory explosion can be said as being you can't consciously, when you're engaging in a new environment or an environment, you can't look at everything at the same time. That's going to lead to kind of overwhelm, and that's going to not be very, can be deeply dysregulating, basically. And also you can't like grasp the significance of what's relevant in a situation because it's too much here. You can't check all the things cognitively consciously. So that's kind of the combinatory explosion. It's more about a way to seek optimization by optimizing between two systems that have different goals, but that's integrated in their function. The system can continually organize itself and develop adaptability in the environment. However, I was supposed to just read one page, but it's very good. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there. So this is kind of why. It's the why and it's the how. Maybe not the how. I think the how is more like having attention to this, like to have your attention attuned to the environment can be the how. And the why is the adaptability of it, the usefulness of it, and so that's the how and the why, and how it works. The and the yeah. framework of it is, or the propositional understanding is what I just read. And the reading of it is procedural, and participation with it is the how. And the last piece, the perspectival. Yeah. And the perspectival in this understanding is um, perspectival in this is to have that perspective of the possibilities and have that perspective of removing, looking at, and 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 seeing the blind spots that I am seeing in my, going back to the third or the fourth, the last episode, what reveals itself in being revealed in the reading of astrology. This was a lot, but yeah, it's out there now, and I'm gonna continue to read. That was 2 pages. 1, 2, 3 more pages, and I'm gonna try to keep it shorter next time. Yes. I hope you find this useful, and yeah, I hope your day is filled with wonder and richness and wellness. And yeah, thank you for your attention and your time.